I say they'll continue to fight against the plan and vow to make their voices heard. The 63-year-old staple in Jamestown, the world's largest buffalo, is being assessed and prepared for a new coat of paint. Since 1959, Dakota Thunder has grabbed the attention of visitors and spectators. Jamestown Tourism Director Cyril Swedland says a 60-ton sculpture has been painted over before, but a 2018 assessment uncovered some deterioration and more than a dozen coats of paint, adding weight to the aging monument. A process has now been developed to either sandblast or chemically strip the paint on the buffalo. The cost of the repair and refurbish is estimated at $50,000 to $100,000. Partly to mostly cloudy, near 76 for our high in Fargo-Moorhead this afternoon. We'll have a partly cloudy overnight, slight chance of an evening shower, thunder shower 54. Tomorrow, partly sunny and afternoon showers and thunder showers are possible. Just a slight chance, though. The high tomorrow afternoon, 74. Also 74, the high Thursday, partly sunny. Cloudy and 74. Paul Jurgens, News Radio, KFGO.
Well, I got to say, it's good to be back with you here in the KFGO studio. Again, one more time, I want to thank Jim Shaw, Kelly Crapu for filling in. I was up at Lake Metagoshi. Been what felt like a lifetime since I've been up in that area, and boy, has it changed as far as the number of people that have a cabin on that beautiful lake up there. But lots to get over from the weekend that, was. I've missed out on a lot because here, I've got this unwritten rule that when I am away, I shut everything off. I'm not following around on the news. I'm not listening to KFGO. It's an unwritten rule that I accidentally broke a couple of times over the weekend, and here's why. When you're seeking through in your drive, and when I'm near like Lakota, North Dakota, on beautiful Highway 2, for example, and I'm seeking through FMs, and I run into 104.7, crystal clear all the way up in Lakota. Okay, I left her there for a second. When I'm all the way up near, Dunseith, and I can scroll through and find 790 AM crystal clear, which, have you tried listening to 790 AM on Bismarck Dickinson? It's there, folks. So that's the only time that I did. It was all by accident. It's not that I don't enjoy and love my KFGO coworkers. You just got to shut it off for a little bit. And here's a reason. Because if you're not, you're going to be all in the mind of work. I mean, for those of you that have an office job, I hope you shut your email off. I had one experience when I was actually out camping, and of course you just have whatever local station you're on if you're not streaming your music. And the CBS National News sounder came on during the afternoon, and it sent a chill down my spine. Didn't know what time of the day it was. That's why you shut it off when you're not here, but I am glad to be back with you. The only news that I was constantly bombarded with, and perhaps is because of proximity, and it was all over social media that following day, and then ultimately it was just national news, it was everywhere, was the fact that the Minot State Fair, North Dakota State Fair in the Magic City of Minot, is underway. And I think arguably one of the more anticipated shows was the fact that Kid Rock was going to be there. I know when the lineup came out, that was the one that stood out for many of you, because I made the comment that I wouldn't mind seeing that, but I also wouldn't mind seeing Nelly, which I don't remember what day Nelly was taking the stage. But the thing is, Kid Rock didn't take the stage either. Canceled. It was due to weather. The back and forth from the whole what happened is just incredible. Of who's saying, well, they pulled the pin. No, he did. No, we did. It's kind of messy. I'm hoping that we get some clarification over the next day. I talked about this a little bit earlier. I got to fill in, I should say, as they're listening right now. The last hour of News and Views. Coffee with KFGO was earlier today. For those that were able to make it out to Dilworth at the Roasted Rail Coffee House, that's also brought to you by Vision Ford down in Wapton. Thank you for going out there, and I appreciate Vision Ford for allowing us to do that, and for Dilworth hosting as Local Days gets underway. But there was a number of text messages in at 35270 from people that were there, that had family there. You've heard rumors about why the show was canceled. Everything from Kid Rock had too much. He wasn't able to go out perform. To others wondering why, in fact, the rides were still going, if it was weather-related, and if the fair, in fact, had a role in this. People saying, well, no, it was law enforcement, first responders that calls. It's quite muddy right now. But here's what I've been able to do from the time that I left you earlier, for those of you that were listening here on KFGO, to now, was actually visit with one of the area promoters. Now, understand this, the people involved in this industry aren't exactly jumping to want to discuss these type of matters, because you've got artists, musicians, they belong to, agencies, and quite frankly, word travels when it comes to venues, promoters, and what they do and don't do, what they say and don't say about some talent. So, I'm not going to box them and say, well, but come on, we can just talk in generalities here. But the promoter talking about this very situation, when you've got outdoor venues and you've got potential weather impacts, how do you handle that? Who actually makes the decision? And the way they described it was ultimately the artists would have kind of the final say. There's contracts involved here, and they're quite loose at times of what the leniency is for that artist. There's been other examples of this happening across, not just here, but probably globally, of last second cancellation. Certainly fans get upset. I know that I probably would have been upset too, especially had I driven from Fargo to Minot to take in this concert, or even further. I wouldn't be surprised if people did travel quite a distance to get there. I get it. The price of gas is going down, but it's still elevated. If you had to get a hotel room, if you were there traveling solely for that concert, I can completely understand the frustration. However, the slamming down whatever beer you might have had and then chucking that at the people that were just standing there for security reasons, throwing them at the road crew that were just out there trying to move equipment. This was not their decision. That's where lines were crossed, and that's why it was, in fact, national news. When you have headlines saying that the crowd in North Dakota got unruly after Kid Rock cancels concert hours before a show because of weather, and that you violated the venue, all of that, it just wasn't a great look. But if, in fact, was Kid Rock, I asked about the reputation that he has from this promoter. And Kid Rock, you can love him, you can hate him as far as political views go. You can enjoy his music, not like his music. Put that all aside. Just the actual way of which you approach the job itself, I think, is important in this equation, because that individual, this promoter, said Kid Rock does not have a reputation of just up and canceling shows like this. It does not have necessarily a reputation of going and overindulging in substances before taking the stage to entertain his fans. So something happened here. Certainly weather was in the area. I know there's an argument that could be made because the rides were still going, and that the weather, in fact, had already moved out, that maybe it shouldn't have been canceled, but it did. I want to know your experience. 35270 is the iConsultants of North Dakota. You can also call me on the Laney studio line at 237-5948. We'll come back a little bit more about this and a variety of other things. What did I miss over the weekend? You get to fill me in. You can use those same phone lines to do that. I have some messages waiting for me, but I'm going to take a quick pause. We'll come back. More Afternoons Live on a Tuesday afternoon right after this here on KFGO. I mean, I was getting it all the way up in Lakota on the drive back yesterday from this trip. And somebody goes, Tyler, no matter where I travel, I can always tune into KFGO.com because it streams live. It's the coolest thing listening to it in other states. Yeah, there's, I mean, a lot of ways in which you can take in KFGO. In fact, you can stream this show if you want to watch us do radio when you're at KFGO.com as well, which a lot of people did during Audibles last week. Appreciate that as we took it out on the road. But back to this Kid Rock thing, and then I'm going to switch gears because there's a lot going on in Fargo that I wanted to get your take on, including whether or not there should be more commissioners on the Fargo City Commission as it continues to grow. And 32nd Avenue, we've had a lengthy discussion about that turn lane and what turns out it might still be alive. I have not been at a venue when a concert has been canceled. I also know that I would not have partaken in the destructive behavior that some people were. Now, there is a concert that I have bought tickets to. We are now going on, I think, the third year. And quite honestly, I don't even know when the reschedule is. Down to Sioux Falls, it's Rage Against the Machine. Eric Johnson's my producer. He's got tickets, which we did not plan this, but we are like 5 seats away from each other. Do you even know when that concert is?
I think it is next March. I was just going to look up.
We would have had these concerts for 4 years before we get a chance to, in fact, watch.
It is. And have you seen some of the videos of the first wave of these shows?
I've tried to avoid, because here's what I fear. I have been to some artists multiple times, and it's the same act, right? So I don't want the experience spoiled because I watch clips of how things transpired, say, in Wisconsin. Just like I don't look for set lists, right? I want to be in that moment and have the next song pop up. So I don't look at set lists. I try not to watch an artist's performance before knowing I'm going to be seeing them coming up.
Yeah, I've got the date. I found my tickets. Wednesday, March 22nd of 2023.
That feels like a lifetime. Who knows what'll happen?
We're about a half a year away.
No, we're over. Yeah, you said March.
Yep, March.
Yeah,
so
we're
over. 7 months away, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Because first it was COVID, then it was COVID, and then it was COVID.
Yep,
I think because it's been pushed back 3 times, right?
Yes, but I will say Zach De La Roca has a foot injury, a la your favorite band, and is still performing. Seated, but still performing.
Yeah. Well, see, now that's been a whole different experience because the first time I saw the Foo Fighters was when Dave Grohl broke his leg. I mean, it's still a great concert, but it changes. I mean, a very high energy performance, and the same thing is for Rage Against the Machine. It's all about that loud, energetic. You're on stage running around. And then on the first night, he breaks his foot or whatever it is, spraying.
Injured his leg. Lower body injury. We'll treat it like
those
sports.
things persist. Let me assure you. But these things happen. Now, I wasn't there. I felt like I was because instantly people were texting about the Kid Rock cancellation. Outraged by it, others poking fun at it for people saying, well, there's going to be a Trump video that opened up. I've made it abundantly clear. There are music artists that I can enjoy their music and have very vastly different opinions when it comes to politics. Kid Rock, Ted Nugent way back in the day is another one. You can still go and enjoy it. Now, granted, some of the newer stuff from Kid Rock's not exactly my bag. The original stuff, liked it. But even if he was the one that canceled it because of weather, I don't think it changes any fan's perspective of him. Outraged by the expenses he traveled, I get it. I just, you feel because when you were watching some of those videos that were blasted all over social media of what it was like, is everybody's got their own video, capturing device in their pocket. It's your cell phone, smartphone, whatever. And there was an instance that was right by the rail. It was right next to the idiot that jumped on stage at the end and had his arms up like he was going to go wrestle to the stage professionals up there. Rightfully got tackled very aggressively. He deserved it. But those people on that stage should have never been put in that position. The people that are down there just security watching the crowd, making sure no one's jumping over barricades, they didn't deserve to have empty beer glasses thrown at them. They didn't make the decision. It was a bad look. And everywhere across the country that was talking about this, and they were talking about it, because, again, even when I tried to avoid the news for 4 or 5 days, I could not avoid this topic. Every headline had North Dakota crowd in it. Doesn't mean that everybody in that 18,000, whatever it might have been, crowd was from good old North Dakota. It could have been from Winnipeg. It could have been from anywhere listening to me on the crystal clear 790 AM signal. It's a bad look. Some people are saying in the text clip at 35270, yeah, but that's who Kid Rock wants. That's his type of crowd. Perhaps there is certainly a crowd that he draws from, but that still doesn't mean that I don't necessarily like his music, and I never would have done what I witnessed playing out at the grandstands out there. Messages already coming in about the Fargo City Commission. He had an attempt last night, and we'll get into this, about whether or not there should be an expansion on the city commission. This topic keeps coming back up because we've got 5 right now. You've got a growing population. I have made the comments that there are areas I think that have been neglected from the perspective of the commission. Because anytime you've got somebody on talking about, well, what the city commission did, what's the area that keeps coming up every single time? Downtown Fargo. So whether it's an expansion on the commission, the ward system, whatever it might be, it seems to me that there could be an improvement with the growing area and the growing population of Fargo. Now, the attempt last night failed, but my question is for you, if in fact it was on a ballot. Now, it won't be, I don't believe, this November, but if it were before you, or would you, in fact, want to take it from 5 to 7 for a Fargo City Commission? Or are you going to say no because then you're going to increase costs, you're going to increase A, B, and C, so no, leave it at 5? That's my question for you. Do you want to see the City Commission expand in its number of people that can get on that commission to serve you? Message is already in. Tyler City Commission should absolutely be one more person on the Fargo City Council for this size of a growing city. See, the thing is, if you only have one more, that would get you to 6. So tiebreakers, that's why I think if you're going to add, you got to add 2 more. And I got no dog in this, but quite frankly, I'm to the point where I do think that an expansion on the city commission is worthy of a conversation. You've got other areas, even in this metro, smaller in population, that have got bigger commissions. Now, I'm not saying add 10 more people, don't add 5 more people. I'm not saying, geez, really expand it, but it wouldn't hurt allowing for some other voices to get on that commission when you have this growth. Would you prefer the ward system, or do you want to expand the commission? All that's coming up here at 35270. More messages coming in, but I'll come back to that right after I get you caught up. Paul Jurgens of that KFGO News Center. I'm Tyler Isis, back here as host on Afternoons Live. Don't go anywhere.
KFGO News, mostly cloudy, 74 degrees. I'm Paul Jurgens. 2 people were arrested after police in Red River Valley SWAT searched a warrant at a home near Hawthorne School in South Fargo this morning. The raid, related to a drug investigation, was at a home in the 900 block of 5th Street. Police SWAT and the Cass County Drug Task Force established a perimeter. At one point, a flashbang was used as a distraction. The same house was also raided in the fall of 2019. A massive indoor water park is slated to make a splash in West Fargo in 2024. Epic Companies has released its early plans for the 50,000 square foot family-friendly facility, which will also include a 7-story, 125-room hotel and parking ramp. Eric Goulst is the park director. He says a number of the features of the park won't be found anywhere else.
We're going to have a lazy river that's going to have a wave component to it. We're going to have a drop slide, which will drop you 8 feet into the pool. We're going to have a play station with a bucket drop. We're going to have a zero-depth entry splash pad for the kiddies. Ninja Cross, which is a takeoff of the Ninja Warrior. This will be the first of its kind in any water park.
Gould says part of EPIC's mission is to work with schools, nonprofits, and community organizations to make sure kids of all income levels can use the park. It'll be located in Anderson Park on 45th Street, south of I-94, not far from the Red River Zoo. 74, this is KFGO News. '74, this is KFGO News. United Patriotic Body Commander Jason Hicks has been suspended from volunteering at the Fargo National Cemetery for 6 months by VA officials because of claims of intimidation and harassment in opposing an outhouse proposal. Tom Krabenhoff, the Fargo Memorial Honor Guard spokesman, says there was no due process for Hicks. An email from the executive director of Fort Snelling National Cemetery Complex says some members have been cited for misconduct like harassing, bullying, intimidating, and rude behavior toward VA employees. Hicks has been critical of the VA's plans to build outdoor restrooms at the cemetery northwest of Fargo. A Wilmer, Minnesota man is facing charges accusing him of driving drunk and killing a Wilmer woman in a crash Sunday morning. 18-year-old Daniel Losi is charged with 2 driving-related felonies, DWI and underage drinking. Investigators say Losi was under the influence when his pickup collided with a car on Highway 71 near New London. The driver of the car was killed. Her passenger was injured. Losi was also treated at St. Cloud Hospital. Losi admitted to drinking at a house party prior to the crash and taking THC edibles. Marijuana was also found in his pickup. Minnesota OSHA investigators are investigating an ATV crash that killed a tree service worker near Caledonia. The Houston County Sheriff's Office says 33-year-old Kayla Wimmer Wood of Owatonna crashed the four-wheeler. Wimmer Wood died at the scene. She was working for Carr's Tree Service. 2 deadly fires in Sioux Falls are under investigation. The 30-year-old man died in one of the weekend fires, while 3 others in the mobile home made it out safely. Firefighters brought the man out of the burning home. He died at a hospital. Early indications are that the fire accidentally started. The cause remains under investigation. The other fire broke out in an apartment in Sioux Falls. A 53-year-old woman was found in the apartment and flown to Minneapolis, where she died. Partly to mostly cloudy for the remainder of the afternoon. Maybe an isolated shower, thunder shower. Showers are showing up to southeast of Fargo-Moorhead, extending up toward the northeastern Minnesota, and some showers in east central Minnesota. Thunder showers detected on radar as well there. 76 for our afternoon high. A slight chance of an evening shower, thunder shower, otherwise partly cloudy, 54. The overnight low, 74 tomorrow, partly sunny, maybe an afternoon shower, thunder shower, and Thursday, partly sunny, 74. Fargo-Moorhead, mostly cloudy, 74 degrees. Paul Jurgens, News Radio, KFGO.
Rusty Alverson in the KFGO studio. Hi, man.
Welcome back.
Yeah. It's been forever since I've been back in the studio. Provided by Gunderson's, by the way.
Good to see you. You look well rested.
Thanks.
I decided to show up despite the adverse weather.
The adverse weather, yes. I appreciate it. You didn't cancel because of a little bit of wind?
No.
That's not universally the case over the weekend.
Not my style.
Glad to have you back in here.
Yeah, thank you.
There's a couple of things. I know we're going to be talking about ports. Remind me, I want to talk about Russia and Ukraine at some point today with you, because you asked a question whether or not I trusted Russia in this whole agreement to allow for exports.
Yep.
I said no. I've been proven right on that one, unfortunately. But let's talk about the port here first.
Well, we've talked a lot, Tyler, about supply chain disruptions and the ports on the West Coast in California. Now, marine terminals at California's Port of Oakland have reopened for normal activity after port leaders and police ended a week-long independent trucker driver protest of that state's new gig worker law. Now, U.S. Meat Export Federation President and CEO Dan Hallstrom says the Port of Oakland very important to U.S. red meat exports, but he said the shutdowns at the Port of Oakland can have an impact on nearly all sectors of U.S. agriculture.
But honestly, this situation is much bigger than just the meat industry. It's important for all of ag. There's a lot of commodity groups that export and ship through the West Coast. So if you look at the overall impact on the ag commodity groups, everything from fruit and produce to meat and everything in between, and all the associated industries that go with that, the economic impact of this situation in Oakland going on for any length of time is just monumental. So all the more reason that we need to push the state of California and the appropriate parties to get this resolved as soon as possible.
Now, the Port of Oakland, the 8th busiest port in the U.S., Tyler, and $20 billion worth of agricultural exports flow through that port. Almonds, dairy products, wine, coffee, electronics, and one that I didn't know of, manhole covers. But that's according to the story.
I have no reason to doubt it.
Yep.
What's interesting, and I don't know that you've necessarily got the answer, but it's something I'm going to dive into. So the gig worker situation, now I get that is because if you're an independent contractor versus an employee, you're pretty much in charge of taxes and benefits. So you're paying for your own health insurance. I know from experience on this for a little bit. I would get why perhaps in the legislative eyes that this would be a good thing, because the view would be that businesses and owners are taking advantage by saying, well, you're not an employee, Rusty. You're an independent contractor, even though you're driving for me. Might have the logo out there, but independent. Why the truck drivers would be the ones that are upset about this, because if they were employees, then would they not potentially get those benefits and then have that tax burden off them because the employer would be having to pick up their fair share?
Yeah, the labor law, formerly known, it was known as AB 5. It makes it harder for companies to classify workers as independent contractors. So that's kind of a sticky wicket.
Yeah, well, it just seems to me that I wasn't in the legislature out there. I have no idea. But if I'm trying to make sense of this, the intent would be that we're stopping employers from abusing that kind of a loophole, that you're hiring independent contractors. No, these are employees of yours. So treat them as such. And now the independent contractors that are currently there, which are truck drivers, seem to be the ones upset about it. It's an interesting dynamic, I find.
Yeah, the truckers say that law, the new law, requires them to spend thousands of dollars on insurance and equipment rentals like chassis to remain independent. And I think
there's got to be more to it then.
Yeah.
Why they would be required to spend on that. That's why. And in fact, maybe we're getting somebody to call to educate me at 237-5948 as well. It's interesting. There's got to be something that I'm missing in this, I guess, is what I'm trying to say as to why they would have to, spend more money on this and that, if in fact it would be, in my opinion, on the employer. But you're not in California. I'm not in California.
No, but I can offer, if
insight.
I can, well, I don't know about insight, but, it goes back to our whole supply chain disruption conversation. The fact that we need more truckers in the U.S.
No question there.
No question there. And any kind of roadblocks or hurdles to make that happen, that's not a good thing for the consumer.
Let me throw it out to you. I know we got truck drivers listening out there. Do you want to be independent contractors, or would you rather be hired by a company? I'm generally curious. I don't have necessarily a strong opinion one way or another. Let me know at 35270 or call me 237-5948. Got my gears turning, Rusty, on a Tuesday. I appreciate that.
I like that pun.
That was unintentional. There's still a little bit of rust on this side of the microphone from being on.
When everybody says, oh, I'm a little bit rusty, that means, well, you're pretty doggone good.
Rusty, I appreciate it. You come back next hour.
Yeah,
all right?
you bet.
All right, Rusty Alverson, Sarah Heinrich, they're the best in the biz. You can go to kfgo.com to learn a little bit more. Just click on that agriculture tab. Truck drivers out there, a lot of you are likely independent contractors. Do you prefer to keep it that way? Or would you rather be an employee of some of these companies? Just generally curious. You can let me know. We'll come back to that conversation. And Fargo City Commission. People saying, yes, we should expand. People saying, no, we shouldn't. I'll get back to all that and more right after this. Independent contractor versus an employee. And now in California, this whole AB5, which is quite frankly this whole gig work, which more and more people have that gig work. I think a lot more people found that during this whole pandemic, early stages. Couldn't go anywhere. People found hobbies. There's a variety of things that fit into, I think, gig work. I don't think truck driving is at all that case. I don't think an independent contractor as a truck driver fits in to that. So whether this was an oversight, or just sheer stupidity out in California, something seems to have gone wrong here. That truck drivers upset about this. Now I get why that you would want to try to limit the abuse of, quote, independent contract workers, right? Because if you're an employer, and I don't know how widespread this is, I mean, it had to be to an extent that there was a reason to try to stamp out any abuse, right? I mean, if you're an employer, though, and you're thinking, well, how can I cut costs on the expense side of my payroll? Well, you do independent contract work, then you don't have to pay that part of the taxes. You don't have to offer some of the benefits. And when people talk about the increase of insurance in this story that Rusty brought in, my mind instantly went to health insurance, not necessarily the insurance that would now be in addition to what a truck driver has to have just by surely operating that rig, right? You think about the auto insurance that comes along with some of this, that, okay, if that's the case, I understand why the frustration would be there. But, I mean, if you have this going on in California, now, I mean, California is not necessarily running away that I'd say, well, look, this is what we should be doing everywhere. But in that very particular industry, I mean, you do not get much more interstate commerce than if you are a truck driver, right? So how this holds up, beyond me. I know it's new. I've got a feeling that this is either sheer stupidity, an oversight, or an unintended consequence of what happened in California. But something to be following along, because it's not isolated to California. It impacts you and I in North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, Minnesota, wherever you're listening to me. Because what they're moving to and from those ports impacts us through that old supply chain that we've seen congestion in for quite some time now. 237-594. I know that we've had some people trying to call in a hands-free. Couldn't understand, so please try calling back in. We'd love to get your take on these airways, especially if you're an expert in this field as well. Before we got caught up with the KFGO News and Paul Juergens, I brought up the fact that you had another conversation that keeps coming back about whether or not the city commission here in Fargo should expand. You've got a growing population. Should that then expand the commission? And I got a number of people pretty much in agreement. Yes, Tyler, 7 commissioners, chicken feed for $50,000, which I do not know offhand what a commission going, like, salary take home is. I did a quick little search, and it seems to be about that mark. So, all right, let's say we add 2, so we got $100,000 in addition that you're paying with your tax dollars every year for 2 more commissioners. I think in a city this size, that's manageable. You can swallow that, right? Other messages came, and this one's lengthy. Bear with me. It broke up. In the Stellar Text Club machine that we have, I tell her, yes, the commission should expand to 7. It's way too much power and little representation for a community of 120,000 people. Regarding downtown and loud noise, etc., the gentrification of downtown, including the very expensive condos, were put up long after the bars and cruising and the street music, which has been going on. I've lived here for 30-plus years, and downtown has never been quiet. Why do these elite rich people think it should be quiet now just because they moved in? That last part, that argument, is one that I have said before as well. If you missed our conversation with Mayor Tim Mahoney last week, as I was remotely having these conversations with you, I'd ask, because what seemingly felt like out of nowhere, there's petitions on food truck vendors saying, hey, you know what? Mayor Mahoney's out to get food truck drivers. I want to get the bottom of it, so we asked him to come on and say, why are they saying you're out to get them? Part of the conversation, and again, KFGO.com, just click on the podcast page. You can find that, or wherever you get, and click subscribe so you can get those notifications when we get a new podcast up as well. It's free, so the price is right. It was about loud noise and some of the congestion that happens around the bar close time. And in my mind goes, for people that live downtown, that move downtown, you knew what you were getting into, right? It's loud. I know people that live there, they love living there, but they complain about the noise. You chose to live there. So my my empathy on that front isn't very large because it was a choice that you made. You wanted to be downtown. You know that it's a growing area. We're promoting businesses. We're talking about it being a tourist destination. You see it on the postcards around the country. When, in fact, people have been here, you see the marquee sign of Fargo. It's downtown. That should be an expectation if you choose to live there. That wasn't something that you did not realize when you're looking around the housing market, when you're looking at apartments to live. Downtown is a choice if you want to live there, and you know that it is a place of business, it's a place of entertainment, and a tourist destination. So I don't know how much you have to stand on based on the complaints about, well, it's just too loud at night. This is part of the environment that it, quite frankly, was invested in to become exactly that. 237-594. We'll come back to this conversation at 35270 as well. Donald Trump, former president, likely going to want to be president again. He's going to be speaking in D.C. for the first time, since he left the presidency. Is he going to make an announcement that he's running? We'll talk about that and whatever else you want to get off your chest. It is Tuesday afternoon. I'm Tyler Axis, and Afternoons Live is rolling on right here on KFGO. Minutes into the top of the hour, to the phone lines I go because Joe has called in. Joe, I appreciate you calling. How you been?
Hey, pretty good. How are you, Tyler?
I'm doing well. I should be well rested. I'm back from vacation. Don't you ever just feel like you could use one more day?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Yeah, I hear you, man. What's on your mind?
This California truck driving stuff.
Yeah.
I drive truck in the winter, and the guy that I work for pays me as an employee, but we're leased onto a company, and now the guy that owns the truck that I drive in the winter, we're not allowed to go to California. Only company drivers that company that we're leased onto owns are allowed to go out to California now because of this new ruling.
And to me, either it's sheer stupidity, Joe, or a complete oversight on something that should have been explained to lawmakers that, look, if you do this, you are eliminating so much of the truck driving workforce that, quite frankly, needs to come through your state to move product. And now here we sit.
Yeah, that's right, because right now this company that we're leased to, they're down to a third of their guys that can run California now.
Well, stupid, Joe. I can't find a more creative way to say it than, boy, that's stupid.
Yeah, and as far as, a lot of these guys will lease purchase trucks. They'll from a big company, they'll lease purchase them. That makes them independent contractors.
Right.
So it's not all.
Is that an ideal, Joe? I've got to ask. Is that an ideal way for this to be the business model? Because I'd think, well, geez, I'm kind of working off to get this truck, and then how long is that going to be? Where if I were an employee of a company, look, they own the truck, I get paid, however we've agreed, whether it's mileage or hours, and then I get benefits. I'm curious, as a truck driver, which one do you or others generally prefer?
Myself, I was a company driver. I didn't want to own my own truck, but you do make more money owning your own truck. These lease purchase deals are a bad idea. Because a lot of times the companies will run you, and you get your truck almost paid for. Then they quit giving you good loads, and all of a sudden you're giving the truck back because you can't afford it, and they're selling it to somebody else again.
Yeah, that seems like a whole other conversation. That you're right. That's a bad deal, Joe.
But as far as being an owner operator, you do make more money. You have to supply your own benefits and stuff, but if you're good with your coins, you can make a good living being an owner operator. But if you're good with your coins, you can make good living being a company driver now too. So.
Yeah. Joe, I asked for expertise. You brought it, man. I appreciate the phone call. You drive safe, all right?
Have a good day.
Yeah, you do the same. 237-5948. Like I said, I can get the intent of preventing exactly what was just laid out there, of companies, well, let's do an independent contract because that's going to save me on payroll expenses. Yeah, but with this type of work, and as you just heard, now you're eliminating the types of employees we desperately need. And I think a lot of people's eyes were opened when things were shutting down, but the truck was still moving. This just seems, I'll say it one more time, stupid. We'll come back. Donald Trump's out in D.C. We'll talk about that and a variety of other things. Second hour of Afternoons Live getting underway here on KFGO. It's 3:05, close enough. I'll tell you some of the things that happened on this date or what's trending. On this date, July 26, 1986. That's a good year. Top Gun soundtrack hit number 1 on the Billboard album chart for the first time. Held for a total of 5 non-consecutive weeks. What other soundtrack has been number 1 on the Billboard? There might have been one, but for 5 different weeks, Top Gun soundtrack in 86 was number 1. Then I went to the soundtrack list, and of course, Kenny Loggins is like the soundtrack, right? You got Cheap Trick, you got Berlin, you got Loverboy. Okay, we'll play some of this when we come back, but what other soundtrack would have even been close to charting and getting a number 1 on the Billboard? That's what happened on this date. National Lampoon's European Vacation hit theaters in 1985. Peter Gabriel's song Sledgehammer hit number 1, which I demanded Eric Johnson not play in this segment, which surprised him. Again, 1986. Paul Rubens, Pee Wee Herman was arrested. We all know why. Don't have to get back into that. In 1996, the movie Kingpin hit theaters. We'll come back to these texts waiting. Me about truck driving, Donald Trump, and so much more. But first, Paul Jurgens of the KFGO News Center.
KFGO News, Fargo-Moorhead partly cloudy. We're now at 76 degrees. I'm Paul Jurgens. 2 people were arrested early this morning after police in Red River Valley SWAT served a warrant at a home near Hawthorne School in South Fargo. That raid, related to a drug investigation, was at a home in the 900 block of 5th Street. Police, SWAT, and the Cass County Drug Task Force established a perimeter. A flashbang was used as a distraction. The same house was also raided in the fall of 2019. Fargo City Commissioners have voted unanimously on 3 motions to proceed with some changes to downtown ordinances that, in some instances, are decades old and need to be updated. Police Captain Chris Helmick made it clear that does not mean the elimination of food carts, food trucks, or sidewalk entertainers. He says the major problem is noise.
We've been getting an increasing number of complaints from folks that live downtown about the noise at all hours of the night. And I think that's the number 1 issue that, at least what we're hearing, is that people want us to address. So that's really what our focus has been with some of the ordinance changes that we're looking at right now.
Helmick says the goal is to lower the noise level. Written comments about the proposed changes must be submitted to the city auditor's office, with a vote expected later in August. Changes considered for the trucks and food carts would require a public meeting with the operators. A Wilmer, Minnesota man is facing charges accusing him of driving drunk and killing a Wilmer woman in a crash Sunday morning. 18-year-old Daniel Losi is charged with 2 driving-related felonies, DWI and underage drinking. Investigators say Losi was under the influence when his pickup collided with a car on Highway 71 near New London. The driver of the car was killed. Her passenger was injured. Losi was also treated at St. Cloud Hospital. Losi admitted to drinking at a house party prior to the crash, and taking THC edibles. Marijuana was also found in his pickup. And the teenage cousin of Amir Locke has been sentenced to more than 16 years for his role in a murder that prompted police to execute a no-knock warrant at the Minneapolis apartment where Locke was killed. 18-year-old Mackay Speed had pleaded guilty to aiding and abetting second-degree murder in connection with the January death of 38-year-old Otis Elder. Elder's murder investigation led police to the Minneapolis apartment when officers shot and killed Locke on February 2nd. Prosecutors ruled in April that police were justified in shooting Locke, who was on a couch and showed a gun as he emerged from under a blanket when police burst in. KFGO Weather Center forecast isolated showers, thunder showers, yet a possibility this afternoon. And about 76 for our high. We've just hit 76 at our KFGO studios. Slight chance of an evening shower, thunder shower. Otherwise partly cloudy. Low overnight 54. 74 tomorrow. Partly sunny. Wind picks up a bit. Maybe an afternoon shower, thunder shower. Partly sunny Thursday, 74. More sun for Friday. Mostly sunny, 81. Paul Jurgens, News Radio, KFGO.
All right, so people are sending in soundtracks based on, because I said on this date, 1986, Top Gun soundtrack hit number 1 on the Billboard chart for the first time. And then it was there for like 5 non-consecutive weeks. A soundtrack, I mean, I get it. When I go through some of the artists, yeah, there's some bangers. You got Cheap Trick. You got Loverboy. You got Berlin. And, of course, Kenny Loggins. So I had my producer, Eric Johnson. I'm the host, Tyler Axis, by the way. Thanks for keeping it locked into Afternoons Live here on KFGO. Of soundtracks that has sold the most. And you were able to pull that up while Paul Jiggins was getting you all more informed on what's happening in the area here.
Yeah, I've got the 20 best-selling soundtracks of all time.
Okay, let's not do 20.
Okay.
Let's do top 10 here.
Okay.
So hit me with this. Number 10 being this. This is top selling.
Yep. Number 10.
And wait. One more thing. Got to set groundwork. When was this article released?
It was released in December of 2018.
Okay, so it's dated, but I doubt that there has been
looking through
a great soundtrack, let alone very, very, very good movies in the last 4 years.
Right. So record sales. Number 10 with 8 million certified units. Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou?
I'm not surprised by it. Mm-hmm. Very unique. It's original music. It's enjoyable. Boy, There's a lot of soundtracks coming in at 35270. I appreciate it. I will get to those. Some of them standing out as potentially a part of this list, so be listening here. Okay, so
number 9, certified units, 9 million is we just talked about it. Top Gun from 1986.
It dropped all the way down to number 9.
Number 9.
35 years ago, though, was number 1 in all our hearts and the charts.
Number 8, also 9 million units. Footloose, 1984.
Really? Okay, I see. Nothing that has been on this list has surprised me as of now.
Number 7 from 1994, 10 million units. The Lion King.
No. No. That was all because of Elton John, though, right? That was solely on Elton John. What other songs from The Lion King could you think of? Wait, was it Jonathan Taylor Thomas that I just can't wait to be king?
You're wrong, because it's Hakuna Matata's on there, too.
Oh,
it means no worries for the rest of your days.
How could I forget?
Number 6 from 1997.
JTT, sorry.
A song that will send shivers down the spine of anyone of our age group, Titanic.
Celine Dion, you did this yourself. It's all Celine Dion. Okay, so we got back-to-back all because of one very popular song. People went out and bought the whole soundtrack because of that.
5, we're still kind of in that wheelhouse. Dirty Dancing, 1987, with 11 million units
all right,
sold.
I can get in on that. I would rather it be Roadhouse, but
now we get into the solid compilation soundtrack portion of this list. At number 4, also from 1994, 12 million units, Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump made the list. The person that texted in Forrest Gump on his amazing soundtrack nailed it.
That's top to bottom good.
Yep.
3, Purple Rain from 1984, 13 million.
I know some people that really just don't like Prince music. I mean,
Sure.
they'll turn stations when Prince's music comes on.
And you got to respect the talent, though.
That's right. Because am I in love with his songs? Not necessarily. Do I appreciate his music? Sure. Now, you got upset, or you weren't upset. You were surprised when I said, "Do not play Peter Gabriel's Sledgehammer."
I was a little surprised.
Because I said no. I don't like the song.
Yeah,
blasphemy for a lot of people, I'm sure.
It didn't seem like a divisive song. It didn't seem like one that you love or hate. It just
I don't like it. I'm not saying I hate it. If I don't ever have to hear it again, whatever. I'm not going to lose it. Okay, move on.
2 left.
Yeah.
Number 2, 16 million certified units sold from 1977. Saturday Night Fever.
Bee Gees, you done did it. Okay, that's number 2. Yeah. All right.
Now, I'll give you the year of this movie and the units sold,
which will mean nothing for me.
The movie from 1992 is the number 1 with 18 million units sold.
1992.
And a song that I guarantee you will know.
Just one song?
Well, one song in particular.
Okay, 1992. What would have been popular in 1992? Dazed and Confused is already eliminated because that's the best soundtrack of all time, hands down, I've said. 1992. I don't know. Hit me with it. Play the song. Oh, The Bodyguard.
Just one letter is all you needed. One letter.
The Bodyguard. Number 1 top selling soundtrack of all time, at least in 2018, huh?
Yeah.
Wow, that's surprising to me.
Dolly Parton song, and quoted in this article, it made me laugh. So apparently Elvis Presley wanted the rights to sing I Will Always Love You, but he wanted half the publishing. She didn't do it. She said when this came out, she made enough money to buy Graceland. That's a great Dolly Parton line.
Beautiful. The Circle of Life. That was in one of those soundtracks. Boy, there's a lot that came in here. A Hard Day's Night or Help soundtrack makes maybe a contender. Well, not in the top 10. We're not doing top 20. Forrest Gump, yep, that was in there. This has made 2 entries into the text club at 35270. Cocktail. Tom Cruise and Cocktail. Cocktail soundtrack did not make the top 10. This message, Tyler, my brother had the Cocktail soundtrack on cassette and played it constantly. I still want to punch myself in the face when I hear Kokomo by the Beach Boys. We played that song, I think, just last week.
Yeah, it had an anniversary.
Yeah, it did. Kokomo by the Beach Boys came out on this date last week sometime. Moulin Rouge. That soundtrack came to my mind. It did not make the cut. Grease, The Big Chill came in as well. Some of these are quite good. Again, hands down, Dazed and Confused, best soundtrack, hands down. We could do a whole show of just playing those on repeat for bump songs.
And
none of you would complain.
We have done that show, and it was fantastic.
I could do it every Friday, and not a single one of y'all would complain.
Sneaky good soundtrack. The original Wayne's World movie.
Oh, sure.
That had a really strong soundtrack.
Okay.
Got some Alice Cooper, got some Queen.
All right. Well, all thanks to Top Gun reaching the number 1 spot on this date. There, I got that out of my system. We'll continue having a little bit of fun, but when we come back here, Donald Trump is speaking in D.C., and you're going to probably, half you roll your eyes and said, talk about inflation, which we have. Talk about gas prices. We have. They're coming down. They're still high. The reason why talking about Donald Trump providing his first speech in Washington since leaving the White House is because whether it's today, whether it's next week, I predict it'll be before the midterm election, he's going to announce he's running for president again. 40% of you listening, in fact, maybe even more listening, are going to applaud that, saying, good, get out there. Some of you might even be applauding because if you're a Democrat, you're saying, good, get out there, because that increases the chances a Democrat wins November 2024 if Donald Trump is in fact the GOP nominee. That's what you thought in 2016 too, right? There's a method being used by Democrats right now in certain races that has me shaking my head and saying, what are you guys doing? There is no guarantee if you get a candidate that you think is extreme that automatically disqualifies them from winning a general election. They've proven it over and over again. But Donald Trump speaking today in D.C., let's break that down to whether or not, do you want him as a candidate? Tell me yes or no, and then tell me which party you're with. Or if you're an independent, 35270. We'll come back to that conversation right after this here on KFGO. Did you respond at 35270? That's provided by the iConsultants of North Dakota. You can also call me on the Laney studio line, as I see phone lines are lighting up, 237-5948. Donald Trump is providing his first remarks in Washington, D.C. today. In fact, happening right now. And people are pointing to that because of that very fact that it's the first time he's back. Not the first time he's been back on stage. I mean, he was in Arizona, I think, just the other day. He's been back on the speaking circuit, rallying the base because he will run for re-election. I think he's well-intended. Not well-intended. He's fully intending to run again. And my question for you, and I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, do you want him as the candidate in 2024? We've talked about Joe Biden, a few weeks ago about whether or not Democrats would like him as the top candidate to getting, reelected. And it's not universally there either. There was a poll a while ago that said people don't want either of these candidates. Not going to be the first time that happens, but I'm just generally curious. Text club's full, but you know the rules. I go to the phone lines first, and that's where we connect with LT was called. And LT, appreciate the phone call. How you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad.
Very good.
So here's my comment. I didn't vote for Trump in 2020 because of who he is, and I knew who he was in 2016. But what I'd like to see the Republican Party do is have someone that is honorable. And there are some Republicans there that really intrigue me. Larry Hogan, John Kasich, and now Liz Cheney.
LT, I was waiting for that name. I'm going to be honest with you. I was waiting for that name to come up.
And if you get those kind of Republicans, and even if you find some good moderate Democrats, the country's going to be okay. Mm-hmm. You get these wildcats on either side. You get these, the new term is Christian nationalists. Over my dead body, would I ever vote for something like that?
Yeah. LT, you just said a mouthful, man. I found myself nodding my head, and I know, John Kasich is somebody as a former Democrat here in North Dakota I could vote for. Larry Hogan seems to be reasonable. Liz Cheney has proven that she's putting country over any political affiliation. Might not agree with her politics, but at this point in time, that is a top priority for me.
We know the country will be okay. That's the whole point. Even when Romney or McCain or whatever, we knew the country would be okay. We wouldn't have this fanatical extremism out there. Yeah. But we knew the country would be okay with them.
LT,
have a good day.
Yeah, you do the same. I appreciate the phone call. A breath of fresh air, in my opinion. I'm curious what you think. 35270, you can call in like LT as well. That's, party affiliation aside. That's why I asked. I don't care what a party you deem yourself a part of now. In fact, I think more and more there's people that say I don't have a political home. When we put priorities, there's a reason these January 6th hearings are taking place, and certainly there is, what did Donald Trump know? What did he not do? What did he do? But there's also open your eyes to how damn close things came to all falling apart. One of the top priorities, certainly you can talk about the economy, obviously understandable, because can you afford food? Can you afford the means of which you need to just survive? Okay. We can have a debate all day long about what the driving factor is on why things are becoming more expensive or are more scarce to find on shelves, or gas prices. Those debates, I welcome them all day. I get that being a priority for people when it comes to voting. But if you're not adding to that, just as LT was about the preservation, quite frankly, of America and democracy and things we pride ourselves on, things that we used to say, look, we're going to spread this type around the world. Now, that didn't necessarily work out in all cases, but we had a pride in what we did, right? That self-governance. Now, you can see it all over the place of people saying, oh, well, as long as my team's won, right? It's all about, it's owning the libs. Or, just pick any slogan you want. That's become the priority for far too many people. That's why I think that phone call is refreshing. That's why I think these text messages that I'm about to share with you, and all I had to do was say, do you want Donald Trump as the candidate, and tell me what your party affiliation you are? No, GOP. No, independent. No, Democrat. No on Trump. I'm a Republican. Tyler, nope on Trump, 2024. I'm a Republican. Tyler, he absolutely cannot be the nominee. He will for sure have the same result or worse if he loses. And if he wins, God help us. Tyler, he got people killed in pursuit of false outcome of a legal vote. So heck no, he shouldn't be allowed to run again. Absolutely not, Tyler. Another Republican I could vote for is Adam Kinzinger. This is the lone yes. Tyler, yes, I want Trump to run. I'm a strong Democrat. Maximum overdrive, for soundtrack. The thing about wanting him to run as a strong Democrat is because, I'm not going to speak for you. You can correct me if I'm wrong here, is we have the expectation that if you get these fanatics, you get these people that are adhering to a cult-like mentality about the last election or about a variety of other things, that they're going to be so fringe that they will not win election. Folks, that has happened. They have won. Marjorie Taylor Greene is a congresswoman. Yeah, for example, you have got Matt Gaetz, a congressman. Yeah, Donald Trump was the president of the United States. He won that election. So to just go out there and throw money in these primaries as Democrats are saying, well, if we're running against them, our odds are greater, but your odds are not 100 either. I'll come back to this conversation. I got to get you caught up with Paul Jurgens and Rusty Halverson right after this. You got a lot to KFGO Fargo.
KFGO News, partly sunny, Fargo-Moorhead at 76 now. I'm Paul Jurgens. 2 people were arrested after police in Red River Valley SWAT served a warrant that at a home near Hawthorne School in South Fargo around 6 this morning. That raid related to a drug investigation was at a home in the 900 block of 5th Street. Police, SWAT, and the Cass County Drug Task Force established a perimeter, and a flashbang was used as a distraction. United Patriotic Bodies Commander Jason Hicks has been suspended from volunteering at the Fargo National Cemetery for 6 months by Veterans Administration officials. It's because of claims of intimidation and harassment in opposing an outhouse proposal at the cemetery. The executive director of the Fort Snelling National Cemetery Complex says some members have been cited for misconduct, like harassing, bullying, intimidating, and rude behavior toward VA employees, as well as other cemetery strategic partners and volunteers. Fargo Memorial Honor Guard spokesman Tom Krabnoff says there was no due process for Hicks.
Jason was their strongest advocate and our loudest voice in opposition to what they want to do out there, and they essentially blunted the spear.
The veterans organizations say the outhouses won't have electricity, heat, and they won't flush either, so they wouldn't be environmentally clean. They say they will continue to fight against the plan and vow to make their voices heard. 76, this is KFGO News. '77, partly sunny. You're listening to KFGO News. Democrats for statewide office in Minnesota, raising more money than Republicans in all but the race for auditor.
In the governor's race, DFL Governor Tim Walz continues to outrace Republican challenger Scott Jensen by a significant margin, according to WCCO radio political analyst Blois Olson. Olson says the Walz-Flanagan ticket has almost $5 million in cash and has raised almost $2.7 million since January 1st. He says the Jensen-Burke campaign has raised $2.2 million total, with $600,000 cash on hand.
That's Laura Oakes reporting from the Twin Cities. Minnesota Osha is investigating an ATV crash that killed a tree service worker near Caledonia. The Houston County Sheriff's Office says 33-year-old Kayla Wimmer Wood of Owatonna crashed the four-wheeler. Wimmer Wood died at the scene. She was working for Cars Tree Service. Target, based in Minnesota, will soon add more delivery hubs, 3 more delivery hubs, 2 in Greater Chicago and 1 near Denver, to 6 already operating in Minnesota, Atlanta, Philadelphia, and 3 in Texas. The new centers are part of a growing push by retailers to make e-commerce more profitable. Chief Operating Officer John Mulligan says in the past 3 years, Target has more than cut in half the average per-unit digital fulfillment cost. E-commerce represents just under 20% of Target's sales. Fargo-Moorhead near 77 or so for our high this afternoon. In fact, we just hit 77 at our KFGO studios. A bit of sun breaking through. Still a chance of isolated showers, thunder showers. 54 overnight, maybe an evening shower or thunder shower. Otherwise, partly cloudy. Tomorrow, partly sunny. Slight chance of showers, thunder showers in the afternoon, 74. Thursday, partly sunny, also near 74. Partly sunny, again 77 degrees. Paul Jergens, News Radio, KFGO.
Welcome back to all these messages you sent in after I visited my friend Rusty Alverson, who's back in the KFGO studio.
Yes, sir.
Now, last week I made a fool of myself when I said, hey,
What?
what? People are saying, which time? Because I can count at least 5 of them in one day. But I'd mentioned the Bell Bank hosting an egg webinar.
Oh, yeah.
I like this smirk you had on your face. But last week I go, oh, yeah, that happened on Monday. And you're like, no, that happens next Monday.
No.
Well, we are now past one day, 24 hours removed from Monday.
You know, and time moves by so quickly.
It's flying
Sometimes
by, pal.
we just mix up
It's
our
going to be
days.
August in a few days.
I know, I don't like that fact at all.
I know, but you had to hear it.
Yeah.
So it happened.
Yeah.
What did I miss?
Well, Bell Bank did host their Ag Views live conference yesterday at the Delta Hotel, and during a Q&A with the audience, in the hot seat was BJ Knutson. He's Chief Operating Officer of Titan Machinery, and Daryl Shelton, Executive Vice President of RDO Equipment. And audience question came up: where's all the new equipment?
Every plant, I think, whether it's Deere, CNH, GM, Ford, are all hiring. You've got the chip shortage on top of that, so there'll be potentially some, legislative rulings coming out here very soon on that to bring some of that production back here onto our shores, or whether that will leave, and then also a lot of truck driver shortages. You got a lot of unionization happening as well lately, a lot of strikes and so on at the ports and at different businesses. So there's just a lot of it's a compilation of many, many factors that we find they're all coming together.
Now, the Senate this week is trying to pass bipartisan legislation that would aim to strengthen U.S. competitiveness with China by allocating tens of billions of dollars toward domestic semiconductor manufacturing, chips, Tyler. But the key word that caught my attention in that soundbite, truck drivers.
Mm-hmm. We were just talking about that.
Yep.
Interesting, because there's a couple other things that BJ said that I'm like, that kind of caught my attention as well, but I'm not going to pull you into that one.
Okay.
Yeah, because you'll give me that look again.
Yep.
Well, there's a lot of unionization going on. Well, okay. I mean, I don't know that that's necessarily a hindrance, but not everybody agrees with me on that either. But when we talk about this bill, the chips in science, I think is what they're trying to dub it. What other silly name? I'm going to be following along because I know it's been getting a lot of conversation over the last weekend.
Yep. And the hang up, according to some of the major news agencies, has been weather, getting lawmakers back into Washington, D.C. to actually vote on it.
Weather, and that's a whole other thing. When we talk about workforce shortages, airlines, I've seen some of those lawmakers saying,
don't tangle me up in that.
Oh, no. See, you give me that look again anytime I bring that up. All right. Well, appreciate it, Rusty.
Yeah, we'll stay on top of it.
Okay, we'll stay on topic next time, too. I won't divert, okay?
Okay.
Rusty Oliver said, if you can't wait till tomorrow, him and Sarah Heinrich, well, they got all their work one click away at kfgo.com. Just click on that agriculture tab. These messages coming in, some of them just brilliantly written. I'll get to those. But my question that just popped in my mind. So if you're the Democratic Party investing in these races, trying to make sure that you get the more extreme Republican candidate to win that nomination, if they go on to win the general election, do you not bear some responsibility if your dollars are the ones that help lift that extremist candidate over what I would dub a more Reagan Republican, a moderate Republican? Because you're wading in the waters here, and I'm not thinking that necessarily this is money well spent. It's another question for you to ponder as I get you caught up at CBS National News. I'll come back to your conversation right here on Afternoons Live. acknowledgement that a lot of Republicans that are listening to this show right now texting saying they do not want Donald Trump as their candidate. So then I guess the next follow-up would be, who would you want? I mean, Ron DeSantis is making a move. You can see if you follow Fox News, they've been pumping him up over the course of the last few weeks, at least, if not the last couple of months. And I think as of right now, he's the closest to coming, the nominee aside from Donald Trump, just within the Republican Party base. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. We don't know, but I'm not going to write it off. We tried that in 2016, right? Tyler, I'm a never Trump. I'm a Democrat. Kissinger would be okay, but I'm so disappointed in him. He did not approve voters' rights. At least he seems like a good person protecting democracy against the insurrection, just except against voting rights. Tyler, I'm an independent that tends to lean left, but I think Mike Pence would be a great president if he runs. I don't think Trump would get the nomination. And again, I shared my thoughts on that. Tyler, does it matter if Trump runs, but they just mail a ballot to anyone? Independent, sick of government failing us constantly. Now, the mail-in ballot was given such a bad name because of the constant lying about it. We could call it the big lie, and you know what we're referring to. The purposefully way that the last general election was talked about, they were lying to you. In North Dakota, for example, mail-in voting is a cornerstone to participating in voting in the state. It has been for a long time. Not once did anybody complain about it until now. So, this mail-in voting, I think it works. Do we have to have, some safeguards? Absolutely. But is it based on, this overwhelming fraudulent vote cast? No, it's not. Court case after court case deems that wasn't true. Republican judges, by the way, say, no, there's nothing here. And you can tell now by seeing some of the evidence provided to you by you listening right here on KFGO or by watching on any television network, cable, whatever, that's actually airing the January 6th hearings, that they also knew it. Those that were telling you all this stuff, they knew that it, in fact, wasn't true. Mail-in voting is just fine if you have the receipts like we do right here in North Dakota. In fact, I would venture a guess to say that if you look at this last general election, or this primary that just happened, last month, and how poor the participation rate was in places like North Dakota. I mean, in Fargo, a town of 120,000 people, not all of them, of course, eligible to vote. What do we have? 13,000 people actually take time? If you make it easier for people to vote, more people will. And I do think that includes mail-in voting. Because if you compare this primary to any other time, in particular 2020, which I get it's a general election, there's more participation anyway, that early primary vote, there was so much more participation, I think, because of mail-in voting. And you know what? I think that's a good thing. I mean, I do. And I'm sitting in a very red conservative state of North Dakota. The more participation, the better. And if that includes mail-in voting, then I'm all in favor of it. 35270. Tyler, why can't the Republicans come up with a candidate that's not a nutcase? Well, and that's why I asked. Clearly, a lot of Republicans are listening now, and clearly a lot of them don't want Donald Trump. Then who is my follow-up question to you? Is it Ron DeSantis? Because there's an argument that can be made that he has modeled his entire governorship in Florida based on the way Donald Trump handled the White House. Certainly the way he approaches the pomp and circumstance, the way he's out behind lecterns. He uses kids as props about masks. The way he talks about media, the way he talks about public health thing, the way Ron DeSantis is approaching the job is molded after Donald Trump. And it's working within the Republican circles, if you believe polling. Because he's the second in line behind Donald Trump as of now within the base on a national scale. So if it's not going to be Ron DeSantis, then who would you like? Is it Liz Cheney? Because, I heard Congressman Kelly Armstrong, for example, talk about how he wouldn't vote for Liz Cheney, even though she voted with Donald Trump, 90% of the time? It's just about the lies about the election that set him apart, for the most part. And that's why she's got people rallying around her, because she's standing up for the truth on that, not telling you the lie over and over. But if someone like Kelly Armstrong can go ahead and turn his back on Liz Cheney, then okay, I don't think that there's a lot of Republicans that would vote for her. I mean, is it John Kasich? Is it Mitt Romney? I mean, who would it be when we say, well, don't send the nutcase out for your nominee? Then who is it? Narrow it down for me. People are texting in John Kasich into 35270. I know Adam Kissinger has been brought up. Larry Hogan was another one that our caller called in as well. In this field, in this climate, I just am not confident that they get the nomination of that party. I don't. Tell me who it would be, 35270. I got to get you a weather update from Too Tall. Tom Szymanski will wrap up the second hour of Afternoons Live. Derek Hansen will be joining me. Didn't get a chance to visit with him Monday about sports of the weekend. We'll do a little bit of that in the 4 o'clock hour as well. Carson Wentz is a starter in the NFL. It's now become official that at the 49ers, this is Trey Lance's team. My question for you is, who's going to have the better season? We'll come back to that conversation as well. On a Tuesday afternoon, I'm Tyler Axis, so you got it locked into Afternoons Live. More message I'm going to get out here that's been waiting for me. Tyler, it's still in disbelief the amount of people that are supporting Trump. DeSantis is almost as bad. Not as much of a lifelong grifters, but extreme and denied science-made political propaganda. Yeah, it's. I think if you were to follow along on the way, as I was telling you, Ron DeSantis approaches the job and the way he approaches, the way he presents himself, it's Donald Trump. It is. The thing is, he is probably more in the know of how government actually works. Take that as a cheap shot all you want. I think that there was, and no, I'm not going to, that's not a cheap shot because that's what a lot of you wanted. You wanted an outsider. You wanted somebody out there to shake it up a little bit. Now, the way some of the shaking up was done, I think we can make an argument that wasn't exactly in the confines of the law, which is what we're learning a little bit more of as we do follow along with this committee. But if it's not Donald Trump, it's, as of now, going to be Ron DeSantis. Now, there's a lot that could change in 2 years. But if Donald Trump makes his announcement before the midterm election, which is, I think, is what some Republicans fear, those that behind closed doors just want him to go away. I won't say it publicly, but behind closed doors, there's probably more of that, of those that are actually in office or those that are running for office. If he makes that announcement before the midterm, you think about the variables here. Because I already told you in this hour about people that, and I think understandably at times, saying, well, prices of everything are going up. I can't find what I want on the shelves. And then they tend to blame those that are in the White House and those that are, quite frankly, in charge of Congress. Right now, that's Democrats. Right or wrong, that's the person and that's the party that gets the amount of pushback at the ballot box. So you're inclined to expect that this midterm is going to be heavily in favor of Republicans. There's two variables that have happened aside from the economy. Roe versus Wade getting overturned, which, by the way, news coming out today from sources that Justice Roberts was trying to tell or get and plead with Brett Kavanaugh to not overturn this. Then that leak happened, and that seemed to solidify where people were. We made that argument into this microphone. Turns out that was likely the case. So for everybody that texted, clearly it was one of the liberals on the justice or on the court that put this out. Well, I think this provides further weight that perhaps the conservative side wanted to lock in where people were. And that's why it was leaked. But the blowback to that in the public opinion, it's been noticeable. The momentum as far as enthusiasm of people that are now determined to vote has swung towards Democrats. The other variable besides Roe versus Wade in this midterm election that's not about the economy is whether or not Donald Trump has already announced he is going to run for president. If he says, yep, I'm in, I suspect you're going to see more enthusiasm on the Democratic side to get out this midterm. That is why behind those closed doors, you've got Republican analysts, you've got Republican insiders saying, you can announce, just wait until after November, would you? 35270. More messages coming in. Tyler, so far every Republican is a clone of Trump. Pence says tax breaks for wealthy should be permanent. They have one thing in common. They are grifters. There's no honor among them. It says, or among thieves. Pardon me. Easy for me to say on this Tuesday. Donald Trump could burn people's houses down in North Dakota. People would say that's just Donald. Here's my vote, which I think is pathetic, comes in. People that love Donald Trump still love Donald Trump in the most part. There's just maybe, perhaps fewer of them. Okay, we're going to switch gears. I'm going to get you caught up with CBS National News. They'll tell you the latest. Here's what's coming up. Sports, Derek Hansen. You have got Trey Lance now officially the starter for the 49ers. This wasn't necessarily a surprise because they had already indicated this was going to be the case. Trey Lance is now official. The team's his, says Coach Shanahan. My question for you, who do you predict is going to have a better season right now? Carson Wentz with the Washington Commanders in his first year there. Trey Lance, his first year as a starter in the NFL with the 49ers. Let me know who has the better season. 35270. I'll ask Derek Hansen about that. Yeah, we'll talk about Aaron Rodgers showing up to training camp as though he was Nicolas Cage from Con Air. If you haven't seen that video, you can find that all over the place. Preseason in 3 weeks, the Twins swept Detroit. They're back in action tonight against the Brewers and again tomorrow during the day. We'll talk about all that and more in the final hour of Afternoons Live. I'm Tyler Axis. Stick around.
This is Trey.
Hour of Afternoons Live on a Tuesday afternoon. I can see a little bit of sunshine through the multiple studios here. I didn't get an updated forecast. I will get you all the latest. Paul Jurgens of the KFGO News Center will get you the headlines and what current conditions are outside. When we come back, Derek Hansen, well, he hosts Couch Potato Radio, which you'll be able to hear a little bit later on at 6 o'clock. That's going to be leading you right into Twins. They're back in action today, or yesterday they had off after they swept Detroit. Tony Oliva gets inducted in. We'll talk about that. Also, it's football season. It's getting here. You got 3 weeks till preseason's underway. They're reporting to camps. We'll talk about the Vikings. We'll talk about the fact that Trey Lance now officially, which I never had any doubt. I don't know why this is groundbreaking news, but yeah, he is the starting quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. Coach Shanahan basically indicated that was the case like over a year ago, but now it's official. We'll ask him, Carson Wentz, Trey Lance, who's got the better season upcoming here in 2022? I've got some of your messages and your predictions in at 35270. We'll come back to that and so much more with sports here on KFGO.
KFGO News, partly sunny, 77 degrees. I'm Paul Jurgens. Governor Doug Burgum is pressing the federal government to expedite a review of a Chinese company's purchase of land in Grand Forks for a wet corn milling plant to ensure it is not detrimental to national security. Fufeng Group's planned $700 million project has stirred some opponents to raise fears of espionage due to its close proximity to the Air Force Base. City Administrator Todd Phelan says the company has voluntarily submitted a formal request to have federal officials review the project. He says the city and company continue to be 100% behind that project. United Patriotic Body's Commander Jason Hicks has been suspended from volunteering at the Fargo National Cemetery for 6 months by VA officials because of claims of intimidation and harassment in opposing an outhouse proposal. Tom Krabanoff, the Fargo Memorial Honor Guard spokesman, says there was no due process for Hicks. An email from the executive director of Fort Snelling National Cemetery Complex says some members have been cited for misconduct like harassing, bullying, intimidating, and rude behavior toward VA employees. Hicks has been critical of the VA's plans to build outdoor restrooms at the cemetery northwest of Fargo. A large water park, an indoor water park, is planned for South Fargo in 2024. Epic Companies has released its annual early plans for the 50,000 square foot family-friendly water park. It would also include a 7-story, 125-room hotel and parking ramp. The park director says a number of the features of the park won't be found anywhere else. He says part of Epic's mission is to work with schools, nonprofits, and community organizations to make sure all kids of all income levels can use that park. It would be located in Anderson Park on 45th Street, south of I-94, not far from the Red River Zoo. A Wilmer, Minnesota man is facing charges accusing him of driving drunk and killing a Wilmer woman in a crash Sunday morning. 18-year-old Daniel Losi is charged with 2 driving-related felonies, DWI, and underage drinking. Investigators say Losi was under the influence when his pickup collided with a car on Highway 71 near New London. The driver of the car was killed. Her passenger was hurt. Losi was also treated at St. Cloud Hospital. He admitted to drinking at a house party prior to the crash and taking THC edibles. KFGO Weather Center forecast, we've seen a bit of the sun this afternoon. That's warmed us up to 77 degrees. Partly cloudy, Fargo-Moorhead overnight. A slight chance of an evening shower or thunder shower, 54. Tomorrow, high near 74 degrees, partly sunny, maybe an afternoon shower, thunder shower, 74 once again Thursday, partly sunny, and 81, mostly sunny Friday. Paul Jerkins, News Radio, KFGO.
Hello, Derek Hansen.
Good afternoon. How's everything with you? It's been so long since I've seen you today.
Let's start there because you know what? Little Becky Lamore comes into the KFGO studio on a break. She goes, "Oh, you decided to work today." I took 2 days off for vacation.
I hate vacation shamming.
Well, and here's the thing. I just haven't been in the building. I've been working remotely. I've been at fairs. I've been to horse parks. I've been to baseball diamonds. Certainly, I took 3 days in broadcast from where I grew up, but I've been working.
Yeah.
It was an insult. But here's the other thing. She's not the first person to throw it at me today. I just haven't physically been here.
Yeah, I wasn't. I was just like, I haven't seen you. You know.
It's been.
We have shared offices right next door to each other. You know, so
yeah. It's like Derek Hansen and I have that relationship, like on Office Space, where you can hear each other through the walls, like the neighbor.
Yeah, right.
That's
exactly.
how you and I mean, we're just not talking about chicks on channel 10 or whatever.
Yeah, I can't hear what you're saying to anyone. It's just, it's more or less, it sounds like Charlie Brown's teacher through the wall, but other than that, yeah.
Well, it's good to be back in studio.
Yeah.
That's provided by Gunderson's, by the way. Thanks to Gunderson's. I had asked a question, and I've already got a number of messages in. Trey Lance, now it's official.
Yeah.
There was never any doubt in my mind. I mean, Shanahan said this over a year ago, that this is Trey's team. Well, he reiterated today that this is Trey's team.
Well, it's interesting that, I think with the knee injury to Garoppolo, there was some questions, though, late in the season, whether or not Trey was picking up on everything. So that's what was coming up. And it's not like Garoppolo did a poor job. I mean, they almost made it to the Super Bowl again. So I think there is legitimate wonders if they felt like they did too much to get Trey Lance and they given up on Jimmy. But I think with the way that Jimmy played in the playoffs, I think they decided to make that move. And, he might not be coming back from the injury as quick as we thought. Same reason he hasn't been dealt yet.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, that might be one of the reasons why.
Are they still going to try to get rid of Garoppolo? Or
I think they have to. I mean, I don't know how you're going to. That's a weird situation. I don't even know
what aside from Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo, who else is in the quarterback room in San Fran?
Right.
I don't know.
And so that's a. And maybe they hang on to him just for this year, let him be his walk year.
Have a veteran quarterback as a backup isn't necessarily a bad thing. And now I have no idea.
Trey gets hurt, then he's right back in there, exactly. And then that opens up a whole new thing. So we shall see. That's going to be a very interesting thing to watch up in the Bay Area. I can tell you, as someone who's done this for a while, I'm guessing sports talk in the San Francisco area is very interesting. I'm guessing this gets brought up because you have your camps who probably like Jimmy Garoppolo a lot. There's probably a lot of people who want to move on from him because of his lack of being able to throw a deep ball, that type of thing. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes.
Well, and I'd asked the question. Okay, and now we've got two starting quarterbacks that are former NDSU Bison. You've got Carson Wentz. He's in a new system. He's in Washington with the Commanders, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay. Boy, I couldn't remember there.
Yep.
So he's in Washington, new system. He's got years of now pressure on him because this could arguably be like if you do bad this year, you're no longer a starter in the NFL.
Well, that's just it. He can hold a clip for it for a long time, but if this doesn't work out, I mean, he's going to be a journey backup man, right? Wouldn't you think? I mean, he's going to be a journey backup man if he cannot win in Washington. This is it for him as far as a starter.
Yeah, that's what I think too. So he's got the pressure. He's been, as people are pointing, he's been scouted all these years. I think you got to give the upper hand to Trey Lance as far as having a better year this year going forward. Plus, as you said, 49ers almost went to the Super Bowl.
Right.
So, I mean, you got that supporting cast around him. Foundation's there. You've got a great defense. You got, weapons on offense. I mean, this is an established team that he's coming into a good position.
Yeah, what's his face is coming back, the all-around weapon that they have. So, I mean, that's going to be I'm going blank on his name, but that's what I think is going to happen here is that they'll have a pretty good year, and hopefully he can stay healthy all year.
Yeah. Well, I was going to bet you on that, but it seems like we're all in agreement. And in fact, here, Trey Lance, I think, have a better supporting cast. Trey Lance will have a better year as Carson Wentz has been scouted. Talk to text and autocorrect. Really stumbles up my ability to read your text. I read them as they come in, just like Ron Burgundy in a teleprompter. Okay?
Well, you got to be careful of that.
I know.
We do have a dump button. Yeah,
there's been times where I've been dang close of having to use that because, and every now and then there'll be a joke, an inappropriate joke laced.
Yeah.
Because we got jokesters.
You don't realize. Yeah. Until you read it.
Yeah. Then all of a sudden I'll look up and Eric's giving me that. No.
Yeah.
Trey Lance, he has a better team around him. Yeah. So that's Tyler. What I find crazy, if Stick wins the backup job for the Chargers, we are a Herbert injury away from 10% of the starting quarterbacks in the NFL being from the Bison.
Let's just stop at there's 32 jobs of these in the world, and 2 of them are for NDSU.
It's incredible.
I mean, as someone who pulls for the Gophers a little bit, that's incredible. They drafted more people ahead of the Texas Longhorns. The Texas Longhorns. I mean, that is unreal. It really is. Say what you want about the Bison, and sometimes that there's that fringe fan base that kind of drives me crazy. And you as a big Bison fan,
I sit amongst that fan base. I'm not a part of it, but I sit near.
It is unbelievable what they have been able to do. I mean, it's how many Big Ten quarterbacks are there that are starting right now? Tom Brady's one. Justin Fields. I mean, it's kind of crazy when you think about it, right? That the fact that they have that many, they have 2, and if they would have 3, I mean, just the fact that they even have 3 that are in the top 2, QB1 and QB2 is pretty amazing at an FCS school. There's no getting around.
If only Brock Jensen had been here just a couple years later on when things,
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he was really good. I don't think he had that arm strength that they're looking for, but
I wonder, but if not the roles, but the timeline had been different.
Sure.
I mean, Carson Wentz certainly broke the glass ceiling, right? As far as getting drafted, where, number 2 as a quarterback, had Jensen been here after Wentz, do teams and scouts look differently at him?
Well, okay.
I mean, he went on to play professional ball.
He did. He played a little bit in the Canadian League. Yeah. It's a very good point. And another guy I think who played very well just as far as his leadership is able to do it. I thought Steve Walker was the guy who kind of broke through and, went beating the Gophers, almost beating the Gophers the year before, right? That to me, that's what I kind of look at. He's kind of the underrated guy in this transition.
I think that's fair. I think that's absolutely fair.
I don't think we talk about him enough. I think we talk about Brock Jensen for the titles. Steve Walker kind of laying the foundation for that, I think, is a very underrated factor. And Joe Mays and many of these guys. I mean, I think Joe Mays as a leader, as a linebacker, I think is another guy who you think of. I'll never forget, there was that year when they went 3-8 and they struggled right after Walker graduated. I remember having Walker on, and I talked to Christian Dallas, who was working down at NDSCS at the time because I was calling games for him. And I said, what do you think's going on? He goes, well, it's just some of these guys didn't pick up that leadership role. It's just been kind of a tough transition. I don't think they're ready for it. They'll be fine. And he goes, but you got to do the work on and off the field. And then they had some kind of off the field problems for the first time in a long time in NDSU, which was an issue in the late 90s. And I'll forget Christian Dallas telling me, he goes, I can tell you one thing. If that thing happened, some off the field thing, you would never do that when we played because Joe Mays would kill you. And I told that story to Steve Walker on the air, and he goes, Oh, yeah. You didn't have to worry about that.
True.
The coaches didn't have to worry about anything because, Joe came in and he kind of was rough and tumble coming in, but then he learned quickly to be that guy, and Joe was a heck of a leader. He had some time in the NFL, too.
He did. Yeah.
He's probably another underrated guy in that transition that really helped set the tone for what FCS football is going to be at NDSU.
Somebody is saying, Tyler, what about Easton Stick? Yeah, we just acknowledge him as far as being, on the top. He's not right now the backup. I think he's third.
Which isn't a bad place to be.
No, it's all right. I mean, they're going to have a competition for that second spot, obviously, with Herbert playing at the level that he has and getting better. He seems to have come out of nowhere, by the way.
Yeah. No, he's pretty talented, that's for sure. Speaking of college football, some interesting news that Kevin Warren, who's in his third year now of being the Big Ten commissioner, saying, well, yeah, expansion may not stop. We're doing this very calculated. We're not just expanding to expand. And I'm just like, where is this going to end? I think you're going to see SEC with 20 teams, the Big Ten with 20 teams. I think you're going to see, the Big 12 and Pac, whatever it is going to be the number combined for a bunch of stuff or whatever they're going to call in the ACC too. And you're going to have 4 conferences with 20 teams each. It's nuts.
The landscape of collegiate athletics has just been so flipped up on its head over this last year for a variety of things. Watson now, of course, and he's wide receiver for Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers is throwing to him, which is not a bad arm to be having thrown your way. You saw the video? Aaron Rodgers always dresses up coming into camp. Nicolas Cage from Con Air.
Con Air, yeah.
Now, you could go watch this video, and you could say, hey, this is pretty funny, because I thought it was, until dropping the backpack. I mean, clearly just expecting, well, somebody's going to pick this up. I'm Aaron bleeping Rodgers. Yeah. Boy, that's a power move.
I will say this. In his defense, he's not the only one. I've seen the rookies and other guys pick it up many times at training camp, going back to Mankato. So, yeah, I mean... But I don't know. Did you watch the thing, the story about the Lakers, the building a dynasty or whatever on HBO?
No, I have not. I've heard about that it's entertaining.
Kareem set that tone with Magic early on. So, so if Magic Johnson can carry a bag, I'm guessing. So I'm like,
maybe it's just my feelings on Aaron Rodgers getting me blinded here.
Well, I mean, I don't think there's, it's just kind of it's the only form of rookie hazing I think they do right now. So.
They still don't tape rookies to the goalposts?
No, not so much anymore.
That out? Okay.
I hope so.
When we come back, I want to talk Twins. Miguel Sano, he's in the lineup
He's
tonight.
back, yeah. Well, and Dick Bramer's coming up at 5:45 for the Twins wrap. We'll talk about that also in sports, too. So.
I got to get this message out first. 35270. Some strong Scott Stapp vines coming off Aaron Rodgers as well. Gross. Lead singer of Creed.
He does kind of look like Scott Stapp there.
Now, can you take me higher than, thank you for getting that
I like
song
that.
in my head. All right, well done, Texter, well done. Welcome back. His name's Derek Anthony. He's host of Couch Potato Radio. We'll see what's coming up on that very program later on, and then we'll wrap up After News Live for this Tuesday afternoon. Stick around. Detroit, there are 2 games back in action today and then tomorrow. Why is it always Wednesday, a day game? Studio House of the Minnesota Twins, Chris Atterbury, joins me at 3:10, brought to you by Linex and Jiffy Lube, both from Fargo here. I think their first pitch is at, 1:10 tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, be calling him early tomorrow morning. But they're back in action. They got Milwaukee is where they're at in the lineup. You got Miguel Sano back in.
He is
right. Yeah.
Where he's going to go and how they're going to do this with, Max Kepler got a little problem. He got hit by a pitch or whatever, and I think, he's dinged up a little bit. So they put Kirilloff out in right field, and then they put Jose Miranda at first. And I think the fans like those 2 guys quite a bit as the future of first base. I don't think there's any question they're going to try to feature him. Hopefully he hits well just enough by Sunday. Someone's going to maybe want him and get some type of relief pitcher, any type of relief pitcher.
That deadline fast approaching.
Yeah, so I mean, I think you'll see a lot of Miguel Sano and hoping he can torch the ball a little bit. And if they can get something for him, they probably will, because I think they feel good about their first base situation right now with Miranda and Kirilloff actually playing pretty well.
They're going to have to make a move regardless in this bullpen situation.
They're going to have to, but I mean, there's a lot of people looking for arms right now because with the playoff expansion, there's a lot of teams that are in the contention.
Right.
So, I mean, there's not as many sellers as there is buyers. So it's not going to be easy to get a guy if you're going after some top talent right now.
The price is going to be pretty steep.
I think they're going to be looking at what Kenta Maeda can do for them coming back off of his Tommy John surgery. Yeah. And I think that's going to...
When is that expected?
Well, in a matter of weeks, but he's going to be he's going to be in the rotation.
Yep.
He'll be actually in the bullpen, which will be good because when he was in the bullpen for the Dodgers, he was really good. Part of the reason he didn't mind getting traded because he wanted to be a starter, and he actually was a pretty good starter for the Twins. But if you can get 2 innings out of him on a certain night, that could be crucial if he's able to pitch well, and that could be really, really important along with another move that you could make to beef up the bullpen. I hope that can happen because I think that would be really key in the stretch run as you're trying to hold off Cleveland and Chicago.
Yeah, still maintaining that 3-game lead as of now, but you know how quickly those leads can just disappear. You got Couch Potato Radio coming up at 6 o'clock. What can we expect?
Well, I kind of call back Dick Bramer before he gets on the air in Valley Sports North, of course, and then we get right to it. It's a shorter one because we have the Brewers and Twins. 6:30 is the pregame show with Corey Provis and the gang right here on KFGO. And then obviously the Red Hawks over on the Fan. They're holding a 1-game lead over Kansas City after Kansas City took 2 of 3 at Newman Outdoor Field this past weekend. So do a little scoreboard watching as we're in the crunch time now, just a month and change left in the American Association season.
Final question. Are you going to get out and watch this camp at the Vikings at all? I know that's one of your things.
I just talked to the powers that be. I'm going to try to get something together for maybe next week because there's a young lady who's going to do an internship, so I might help her move a little bit. So I'll try to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. And the Twins are back in town too, so I will keep in touch.
Oh, smart. Well, maybe check in while you're down.
Yeah, for sure.
I did see Dalvin Cook talk about it that the vibe's different, the environment, everything's a little bit more positive now with the changes.
Yeah.
Shocked.
Right, exactly.
You don't have Grumpy Zimmer walking around. All right, well, I'll look forward to that. I'll let you go, all right?
All right. Take care, man.
All right, you do the same. Derek Hansen, host of Couch Potato Radio, the Drive Time News with Jack Sunday between Couch Potato Radio and, of course, this very program. That is Afternoons Live. This final half hour, whatever you want to get off your chest, more messages were sent in about who you want as presidential candidates. That all stemmed because Donald Trump was speaking in Washington for the first time since, he left the White House. We can get back to that. There was also a lawmaker because in Congress they passed and codified same-sex marriage. Hasn't gotten into the Senate yet. I predicted on, Thursday, that there would have 10 Republican senators by the time I came back. We're not quite there yet. Not that I know of, but I predict still that they will get there. This will get codified into law. One of those lawmakers, though, in the House, a Republican, voted no for the protections of same-sex marriage and then did what this weekend? Went to his son's wedding. That was a same-sex wedding. How could you vote no on protecting that sort of thing and then show up and, raise your glass up? How do you have that disconnect? How you can prevent that from others, yet your son is in that same situation. I just, for the life of me, cannot figure that out. If you can attempt to, 35270-237-594 at the final half hour. Again, no more guests. We'll talk about it right here on KFGO.
KFGO News, partly sunny, 77 degrees. I'm Paul Jurgens. Governor Burgum is pressing the federal government to expedite a review of a Chinese company's purchase of land in Grand Forks for a wet corn milling plant to ensure it is not detrimental to national security. Fufun Group's planned $700 million project has stirred some opponents to raise fears of espionage due to its close proximity to the Air Force base. As has been the case in previous meetings, vocal opponents urged the city council in Grand Forks last night not to move ahead with the deal, citing concerns over the company's ties to China. Prior to the vote, some members of the audience were upset. The city council gave preliminary approval to an updated development agreement for the plant.
For the record, if I could answer the question.
Let her talk. Maybe you should let her finish before you let her talk.
The answer is city administrative.
Fargo-Moorhead, partly sunny at 77. This is KFGO News. .77, partly sunny. You're listening to KFGO News. A large indoor water park is planned for South Fargo in 2024. Epic Companies has released its early plans for the 50,000-square-foot family-friendly water park, which will also include a 7-story, 125-room hotel and parking ramp. Eric Golst, the park director, says a number of the features of the park won't be found anywhere else. Golst says part of Epic's mission is to work with schools, nonprofits, and community organizations to make sure kids of all income levels can use that park. And we located at Anderson Park on 45th Street, south of I-94, near the Red River Zoo. Minnesota Osha is investigating an ATV crash that killed a tree service worker near Caledonia. The Houston County Sheriff's Office says 33-year-old Kayla Wimmer Wood of Owatonna crashed the four-wheeler. Wimmer Wood died at the scene. She was working for Cars Tree Service. 2 deadly fires in Sioux Falls are under investigation. A 30-year-old man died in one of the weekend fires, while 3 others in the mobile home made it out safely. Firefighters brought the man out of the burning home. He died at a hospital. Earlier indications are that the fire was accidental. The cause does remain under investigation. The other fire broke out in an apartment in Sioux Falls. A 53-year-old woman was found in the apartment and flown to Minneapolis, where she later died. Partly cloudy, slight chance of an evening shower or a thunder shower. We expect an overnight low of about 54 degrees. And then tomorrow, meteorologist Tom Shemansky is calling for 74, partly sunny. Slight chance of an afternoon shower, thunder shower. 74 again Thursday, partly sunny. 81, mostly sunny for Friday. Sunny on Saturday. Wind picks up a bit. A chance of showers, thunderstorms, probably Saturday night, 88. And partly sunny Sunday, also near 88. 77, Paul Jurgens, News Radio, KFGO.
And one other thing that happened while we were away camping at Lake Metagoshi, I think I might have found the perfect role for a retiree. So if I ever get the chance to retire, which might be a long ways away, being a campsite host. So you get to be at you're camping, during the summer months, you're welcoming people to the campsite. I think that would be an all right retirement role.
So
I don't know if you get any benefit. I don't know if you get paid to be the host. I have no idea.
So change some garbages, maybe
make
cut
sure
a
the
little
places
grass.
are kept up. Yeah. That's the thing. Because before I realized, hey, being a campsite host would be like, well, yeah, I'm gonna mow lawns. It's like the circle of life. Here we go again. Second job, I guess. No, my first job. I'll go back to when I was getting paid cash with my little push mower in Leeds.
So
mowing lawn.
I'm
I'll
right.
retire and mow lawn.
I'm right there with you, but I do it on a golf course rather than a campsite.
See,
cut the grass on a golf course in the morning. Go play.
See, but here's the thing, and I learned this when I was mowing lawns for Camp Grafton in Devil's Lake. If there's eyes out there trying to make sure that you cut this perfectly, you better make sure the deck level's right and you're not on a hill to where you're not.
Oh yeah,
I'd be fearful of that.
Just fairways and roughs.
Yes,
no greens. Just fairways and roughs.
Any hills. I want it as easy of a lawn mowing ride as one could ask for. I don't know this old camping. Tell me what would be bad about it.
No, nothing. I'm guessing you can have beverage of choice in the lawnmower while you're doing it.
Yeah, because I'm in charge. I'm the host. I do what I want. I welcome you in. I say, hey, enjoy your stay. We get back on with our week, and we get back on with the week. I just live here for the summer.
Yeah, I can't find any holes in your argument.
If you can, welcome at 35270, because if not, let's get to planting. Let's get you caught up with CBS National News. We'll come back, wrap up Afternoons Live on a Tuesday, KFGO time, 4:36. Don't go anywhere. on what electors are responsible for. So there's no doubt in anyone's mind, not a little bum attorney out there lying and getting into the ear of a president or any other advisors out there that, well, let's just tell him what he wants to hear. Because I don't want to get the brunt of his anger. I mean, that's in essence some of what was happening. So you've got to codify these things. And I want people that are willing to work on that. From Congress to state legislators all the way to the White House. 35270. Tyler Haley would not speak out about the insurrection or against Trump actions, which is so sad. Tyler, Nikki Haley is a sellout. I would have supported her until she started kissing Trump's fill in the blank there. Yeah, that's where I stand on Nikki Haley as well. This message, Tyler, other than complete isolation, I'm extremely vigilante wherever I go. I am trained by war. How people got this crazy goes back to Reagan. You can't lift people up by scapegoating them. He made it politically expedient. And then there's a descriptor of, I believe, Reagan, which I cannot share with you over this family-friendly airwaves. 237-5948. More messages in at 35270. Tyler, do you think we'll ever have a circumstance where both presidential candidates from the two major parties will be a woman? I do hope so. Here's one thing that I've noted, and who's willing to speak out, who is in the know, as Republicans, as workers in the White House. It's been women. It's been the women that were inside the White House that, after a long delay, and I've been very critical as to why now and not right away, as you're witnessing what was going on that date and leading up to and then following, at least they're finally speaking. They got more courage than the men that were in those same rooms. The men that are refusing to testify under oath, aside from just leaking things to the friendly media sources that they have. Put your hand up. Swear that what you're saying is the truth, just as those women did during that committee on public testimony under oath. Get you this weather update from Too Tall Tom Szymanski. We'll see what's coming up on the Drive Time News. Jack Sunday steering you into Couch Potato Radio. Twins, they're at Milwaukee taking on the Brewers. 6:30 pregame, 7:10 first pitch. Right here on your home for Twins baseball, KFGO. month, which I don't know if I can say where we're going to be. No, I'm getting the shoulder shrug of After News Live is not always in the know on these things. We're
not in those meetings. We get told via email.
You will be here or else. So I'll be there at the next one, as I was just getting back today. And plus, I had that last hour.
I was out in Dilworth this morning for a little while.
Sounded great on air. It sounded like there's a lot of people
a
there.
cool spot on the edge of town. I wasn't exactly sure, but it's a bunch of new buildings
I
on
have
the edge
been
of town.
to, there's a bar restaurant over on that side of Dilworth, and I apologize. I do not, it was at the Rusty Spike.
Silver Spoke, I think, was one over there, something like that.
I'm going to stick with Rusted Spike.
Sure.
Tell me who's right, 35270. As we kick it on over to Jack Sunday, he's got the Draft Time News coming up. Hey, man.
Yeah, we have all the news you need for the drive home and beyond. But like we like to say, you don't have to be listening driving.
Yes.
But if you are, crank it up because we're going to have a Too Tall Tom right away after the CBS News. And then Paul Juergens and Polly Lights doing their news and traffic thing. And Derek Hansen will be doing some sports for us. And I'm going to talk to Joseph Palmersheim about that new 188-mile bike trail from St. Cloud to Moorhead.
Oh, that's a bit of a trail.
They've named it, yeah. And I'm just interested in how many miles are you competing with, vehicular traffic, or did they build any extra miles just for bikes to keep it all together? And so we'll chatting about that.
I forget, do you have readily available what the name of that trail is? Because there was one that was...
Yeah, I have it. I was just looking for it. And
he'll tell you.
When you ask me that, I'll tell you.
Okay.
They had a contest.
Yeah, because I remember hearing one of the names, and I'm like, whoever voted for that, that'd be ashamed.
Well, I'll let you know.
I'll listen, because it's not the one. One that it is not the one that I thought offensive.
We have Rusty Halverson. He's going to be along with our farm news and the closing market numbers and all of that. And another ride with Joel Heitkamp. And that just in the first half hour. How do we do it all?
I don't know. I have no idea, man. People are jokesters in the text club.
And I am so just. I fell for New York Times broke the story that Tony Dow died.
Yeah, and now nope, he's not.
Even the New York Times, they fell for it. I mean, it's like Willie Nelson. How many times has he died?
I saw, we get our CBS News alerts, and there was, do not run with this ad. Do not play any clip about Tony dying. He's not dead. Don't do it. He's not dead.
I put RIP on my Facebook page, but I didn't really officially pronounce him dead until the Beeve put out his condolences about what a dear friend he is and all of that. The Beeve.
Yes. Well, he's still around.
Yeah, but he's not.
No, he's not in shape.
Doing well.
I said, Jack, when I retire, I think I might have found the role I wanted of being a campground host. Just you live at. Now, if you are a campground host, you say no, don't do it. Let me know why. But look, you welcome people that they're coming out to campers. They're going to be enjoying a nice stay in your campgrounds. That sounds like a lovely thing, right?
But they might want to make you back their trailer into the spot. I've never done this.
And then it turns out I was going to ask you what you would do, and you just came back to being a talk show host. Retired, and here I am back being a radio host.
Yeah,
well.
Jack's like an old farmer, right? You retire.
You never
you don't really retire. You
just
scale it back a little bit. Let somebody else do the book work.
Unless I've got these headphones on, I can't hear anything.
I'm learning that. I got to keep turning mine up every single week. I think I'd turn it up a notch more. Okay, thanks for everybody that texted in. The Silver Spike.
So we were both half right.
Sort of right. I had Rusty Spike, and
I said Silver Spoke. So combined, we nailed it.
Yeah, it only took two of us. Hey, we have a show named after that. It takes two. Tyler, isn't it the Glacier Lakes Trail? I think you're right. We'll find out. What? Everybody's got quite the humor today in the text club. Some of which are borderline at 35270, and I'm not going to read those on air, but I just want to let you know I'm receiving them. I'm getting a chuckle, and I appreciate you sending it in.
By the way, MnDOT, the U.S. Bike Route 20, has been named Prairie Lakes Bicycle Route.
There we go. So not the Glacier Lakes, Prairie, what was it?
The Prairie Lakes Bicycle Route.
It's a long ways to be biking, but I think it was like the mid... something middle. There was a name that was out there.
One that was nominated was the Middle Soda Bicycle
Yes,
Route.
that one. I hope none of you voted for that one.
And then Well, it got 21% of the vote, as a matter of fact.
How dare you?
But the Prairie Lakes bicycle route received 34%. And you say route or route?
Route.
That's wrong.
Okay, I could tell by the way you asked, and then by the way you looked after I said route. How dare I? Next Sunday, he's got the Drive Time News coming up in 4 minutes. After CBS National News, he already told you what to expect. Couch Potato Radio, Derek Hansen will be back on these very airwaves, and then Twins are at the Brewers. That's going to be 6:30 pregame. Chris Atterbury, the studio, will be back on these airwaves, and then first pitch will be at 7:10. I told you a little bit about what's coming up tomorrow. I want to ask a question as well that I found online, and I'll share with you what it is in this very role of when people find out what your job is, what annoying thing do they always say? You'll be thinking about that. Write it down. I'm going to be asking you. We'll have a little bit of a contest on that tomorrow. Have a little bit of fun. And, of course, we'll recap the news of the day. Local, national, all of it's going to be on the table. But that's tomorrow. Tonight, again, I told you the lineup. Friday, one more time, I'm going to be at Hi-Ho Burger. You're all invited. Stop by, have a burger, have a beer. I know some of the KFGO crew over here is going to be joining us as we continue our coverage of Loco Days over in Dilworth. But, folks, that's it for me today. I'm Tyler Axis, your host here on Afternoons Live. It's good to be back in the studio with you, and we'll do it all over again tomorrow. Till then, you drive safe, you take care of yourselves. I'll check in tomorrow right here on 790 AM, 94.1 and 104.7 FM, KFGO.